Persona 5 is kind of a big deal. Not only is it one of Atlus's most successful titles, but it's also probably one of the most renowned RPGs, period. It introduced a fleshed out world and a lot of interesting concepts exclusive to itself. But what if they were to take the ideas from Persona 5 and pass the torch onto a new cast of characters, with their own story to tell? What if they took the opportunity to expand Persona 5's concepts? Oh wait, there is a game like that! Persona 5 The Phantom X is a brand new Persona title available for free on Steam, Google Play, and the Apple App Store. So, I was really curious to see how this game would handle Persona 5's formula, and Sega was kind enough to reach out to me and sponsor this video. The game takes place in the same Tokyo as Persona 5, but we follow a different protagonist who accidentally stumbles upon the Metaverse, meets an owl-like companion named Lufil, awakens to his persona, and becomes a phantom thief. They take on the codenames Wonder and Cattle, respectively. The story of Phantom X is focused around desires. While adults being consumed by selfish desires was also a thing in other Persona 5 titles, P5X leans more into desires as a core theme of its story. While desires can become distorted, they're ultimately what drives people to pursue their goals and to have aspirations in life. The story of P5X explores an epidemic where the masses start to lose motivation and hope. Not just in their dreams, but in each other too. Their drive to push for justice against bad actors is diminishing, and they've become straight up apathetic. The story is honestly about as in-depth as any of the mainline Persona games. I'm actually impressed by how much backstory P5X gives its characters. I was invested with the history between Motoha, the protagonist's classmate, and her childhood friend Tomoko. These two characters give a strong introduction to P5X's themes. Motoha gives up her dream of playing baseball because of a traumatic event of her childhood. This leads Tomoko to try and take up that dream for her. However, Tomoko ends up having her own traumatic experience and gets a sports career-ending injury. With Tomoko now on the verge of losing all hope, Motoha regains her morale, joins your team, taking on the codename Closer, and decides to seek justice against the man who wronged both of them. It's cases like this one that provide context on how the masses ended up the way they are, feeling confined by your circumstances and like there's no point trying to make things better. But of course, Persona's not just about the main story. It's not a Persona game without the life sim elements, of which there are many. In Persona 5, the player had story-based deadlines to consider that might have held some players back from thoroughly exploring all of your city life options. Persona 5 The Phantom X is less restrictive with how the player chooses to spend time. Because you don't have any story-based timelines, you're given the liberty to take the game at your own pace and explore all of your options. As per the standard, you have activities to increase your social parameters and net you items. And as you expect, there are also confidants, but only a couple of them will automatically start at the beginning of the game. Aside from main story progression, one way you can discover more is through side missions. These are a good opportunity to meet more characters in P5X's world, or just discover neat things you didn't know were available to you before. It was through these side missions I was able to run into and start a confidant with Yao Ling. Not every character you run into will be a confidant, but they're still totally worth doing just for their storylines. One particular side mission I enjoyed was the one following Minami Miyashita. The story that comes with this side mission is about as good as any confidant. After completing said side mission, you can then hang out with Minami and help her study. I'll leave the rest of the city life features for you to explore on your own. For now, I'd like to get into the game's combat. P5X works off the existing model established by Persona 5, but makes its own modifications that can change the way you approach battles. Upon exploiting a weakness, the player will get a one more. However, instead of prompting the player to issue another command like an attack, a skill, or an item, you will be immediately prompted to do a single target follow-up attack with either that same character or baton passing to another. This is a surprisingly effective balancing measure. It prevents the player from spamming their most powerful skills. This encourages the player to build their team around the weaknesses of the enemies around them, so they can keep the baton pass chain going. Another new tool in your arsenal is highlights. By filling up your gauge, you can have one of your characters perform a powerful attack. but there are restrictions to this mechanic. Firstly, these special moves are still affected by enemy resistances, so you can't just mindlessly mash them out. Secondly, when you use a character's highlight, they won't be able to use it again for several turns, even if you manage to refill your highlight gauge again quickly. And hey, if you're still in need of a challenge even with these conditions, the Velvet Trials do amp up the further you advance through them. I admittedly did end up getting stumped at a certain point and had to rethink my strategy and party setup. Thankfully, you're never at a shortage of options for party composition. Even though you only start off the story with Wonder, Cattle, and Closer, you can still call upon Phantom Idols to assist you. Phantom Idols are cognitions of characters you can meet throughout the game that act as party members in the cognitive world. If you need help choosing a good party lineup, the game actually suggests a party composition in the party menu. But of course, most of the fun and team building comes from doing it yourself, and your needs may differ depending on your situation. Using your wildcard ability, your protagonist can fill in a gap that the rest of your party might not be able to fill. You'll gain more persona slots for your protagonist as you level him up. But even with the couple slots that you start off with, just being able to switch personas around can go a long way in terms of flexibility. Not all Phantom Idols actively fight in your party. You can also acquire support party members who can provide your party with their own unique buffs. Leveling your protagonist increases the level cap for your party members, so you should definitely make that a priority. To gain XP for your protag and materials for leveling and enhancing your thieves, you should definitely hit up the Realm of Repression. You can gain XP from engaging with the game's other content too, but if you're looking specifically to gain XP, this is the place to do it. And all of this is before I've even finished the first palace. I've barely even scratched the surface. I could elaborate on all the things I've talked about just in this video, but I genuinely think you should try the game for yourself and share your own thoughts in the comments. Like I said before, the game is free to play on both PC and mobile, and for the amount of effort and content that was put into recreating the Persona experience, Persona 5 The Phantom X is very impressive. Click the link in the description to try the game out. Thank you to Sega once again for sponsoring this video, and an extra special thanks to my channel supporters. Truly, I would not be here doing this without your support.